So he was like, man, does this thing really work as good as it does and cut straight like they say it does? And I'm like, of course it does. I use this thing every single day. I have to change the blade, not very often at all, because it goes in reverse rotation. He loves it, so he's gonna give you a call.
You're turning into a HEMSAW salesman, and I'm
Welcome
impressed.
to Sam's Garage, presented by NH Oil Undercoating. First up, Sam's ready to fire up the LT1 engine for the very first time. Will it roar to life? You'll find out. Then Sam and Doug take us on an exclusive walk around the stunning Gentry 427 Cobra. Sam also unveils his exciting new project car, a 1968 Pontiac Catalina. And finally, Nora from ACC Performance joins Sam to wrap up the wiring on the fully built Camaro. Sam's wrapping up the final steps of the Holley LT1 engine build. Watch as he expertly installs the engine wiring harness, ensuring every connection is perfect for optimal performance. Then Sam fires up the LT1 engine on the stand for the first time, bringing this powerhouse to life with a thunderous roar.
All right, guys, this is the exciting week where we actually install the Holley Terminator X onto our LT1 6.2 liter engine, fire it up, listen to it run. Hopefully everything will be okay. First thing you want to do is take an inventory of what you have in the box. In this case, because it's direct injected, we do have an extra controller to run the fuel injectors. It's going to have its own harness for power, a lot heavier. Now all I got here is the main harness. I got my coil pack harness, power harnesses, and then I got my throttle body harness. On the ignition harness, we do have a odd and even. Even's going to be passenger side, odd's going to be driver's side on a GM. When it comes to the throttle body harness, it's very important you guys do not disturb this harness. Don't shorten it, don't attempt to do anything to it. If you do, the signal from the throttle body to the computer will get interrupted and you will have problems with the throttle body. Everywhere there is heat, Holley has made sure to insulate the wire so that you don't have any issues down the road. They've built this thing to last, so that's very nice. When it comes to the exhaust manifolds or headers, make sure that the wires are nowhere near the exhaust system. Even though Holley makes sure to give you protection around the areas where it's going to be going by the exhaust, like the knock sensor wire, the crank sensor wire, along with the cam sensor wire. So you guys want to make sure your heat resistant tape doesn't touch your exhaust because it can burn. We also have the map sensor wire. I'm going to use the internal source on the computer because I don't want to make a hole in my intake manifold for the map sensor. Then what I have here, my air intake temp sensor, which I'm just going to hook this up and put it in atmosphere. We've got the air temps hooked up. We've got the ignition coils hooked up. We've got the crank sensor hooked up. You want to make sure that your grounds are perfect. Holley is very particular when it comes to the grounds. The power on grounds is going to go straight to the battery, and then the signal for the 12-volt ignition switch is going to be your pink and white wire along with the red wire, and you want to make sure that's a clean switch source. You want to make sure that the ground at the back of the cylinder head on both heads are nice and clean. Those are the main harness grounds for the entire system. If those are compromised in any way, you're going to have a lot of problems. One bank, one fire, you'll be diagnosing this forever. So make sure you do the grounds properly. First things first, and that is you're going to have to grab your handheld, power up your system, and answer all the questions. Make sure you know what you got so that you can answer those questions properly, because the better you answer those and the better information you give it, the better your engine's going to run. You won't have to do a lot of fine-tuning. This is a completely self-learning system, so you should be good to go once you answer those questions. You have to do a throttle body sweep on the pedal before this thing will ever fire up. It's gonna ask you whether you have a fly-by-wire throttle body or a manual. If you tell it fly-by-wire, it will not give you ignition or fuel unless you do the TPS sweep. Now, what we're gonna do is see if it runs. There is no coolant in it. I can run this thing for 30 seconds with no coolant. It's okay. You see, you ready to fire it? That never gets old. That thing sounds so good. And as you can see, everything is fine with this engine. The boat went into the ground, the engine got filled up with water. Buy yourself that engine, empty it out, do a good job, and you got yourself an awesome engine for minimal cost.
Welcome back to Sam's Garage, presented by NH Oil Undercoating. Sam and Doug take us on an in-depth walk around of the stunning Gentry 427 Cobra. Join them as they delve into the remarkable engineering behind this automotive masterpiece. From the custom-built chassis to the high-performance engine, you'll learn what makes this Cobra a true work of art.
So impressed and so thrilled when I was able to find this car. And then when I read about the history, my wife finally looked over me and she said, just buy the darn thing. So I did. There's only 40 of these that were built. That was the best numbers that I'm able to find.
And you usually don't see the originals out there because they're so expensive. They're usually in museums or people's homes. To see a copy of an original is really special.
It is, Sam, and you know, this car was actually in 1996. It has the 428 motor into it. It's got the top loader transmission. It's got the independent rear suspension. You know, the A-arms, the coilovers, everything just like the original race cars had.
The frame.
The frame is unbelievable. The only difference they said on the frame, they used 4-inch diameter tube, but they went with a thicker wall. They also, because the original 427s, they cooked you. They cooked you. And what I mean by that is when you sat in the car, the engine, a lot of heat. So they did a lot in here to stop the heat going through. So you can drive this on a hot day. It's very comfortable to drive. It's a 4-speed, not a 5-speed. It's all bottom end torque, weighs about 2,500 pounds, over 400 horsepower, and it's all bottom end right now.
Well, let's take it up in the air and show them the wheel wells, the suspension, and the brakes.
Yeah, let's do it.
I didn't even think they had two-piece aluminum hat with steel rotors back in the day.
Yeah, you know, it's amazing. If you also take a look at it, it's all safety wired.
Willwood brakes from back in the day.
If you look at how this suspension was designed and built, if you notice the lower A-arm, it's on top of the tube, not below the tube. It allows the car, it lowers the center of gravity.
And that was taken off the original as well.
Everything that I read, they took the original, they made all the jigs, the fixtures, they took it all apart, and then they built it, and then they did upgrades to it. But they tried to keep it true to the original car.
So really the only thing different I see that is the fiberglass body.
Actually said it was an option to get an aluminum body, but this one here is a glass body. You know, one of the things that I tell people is the car is as pretty underneath as it is on top. I didn't realize when I bought it truly what I was buying. It was designed and built. Like I said, you can go ahead and go on YouTube, look up John Gentry. It'll talk about the cars and what he built. He built a collector's piece. Because you think about it, this car sold in '96 between $75,000 and $85,000, depending on how you equip. That was a lot of money back then. Today, that'd be like $150,000 plus for this car.
And it's so important to show it respect and leave it untouched like we decided to do.
Yes, absolutely. It's very, very important. If you're building a performance car, a race car, it all starts from the frame. If you have a frame that's weak and moves all around, you're never going to get the right handling out of a car.
They made the cross member for the transmission removable. They made the pieces that hold the differential removable. It looks like it'd be complicated to work on, but actually it's a race car, so you have to be able to work on it in the pits.
It's able to handle the horsepower. Like I said, I've had this on the racetrack, and it's amazing how well this thing handles. When you look at the construction of the frame, you look at how it's built, it's incredible. And like I said, everything that I could read on the car, it talked about they wanted to mimic as much as they could off of the original car, but they did increase the tube size for the torsional stiffness. So they really wanted to make sure they started with a great foundation in this car. It's really a work of art.
It really is impressive. Everything is completely solid. One day when we're free, because we're never free, we need to take out, do a rear main seal, do a rear shaft seal
Right.
for the transmission, output shaft. Looks like that's pretty much it. Everything
Yeah.
else is in order.
I thought you'd really enjoy it, Sam. This is one of my crown jewels in my collection. This is a very, very special car to me, and it's a special car growing up.
Good job on this one.
Thanks,
I will
Sam.
not judge you for owning this Ford. I am building a third-gen Camaro for my good friend, first responder, 9/11 survivor, Tori DeBlasi. So I went to Trans Depot and I went with a Stage 2 4L60 with a tail shaft that's gonna work right in place for the Camaro that I'm working on. Now this is a Stage 2 called a Nemesis. It's good for over 500 horsepower, but they also have the Punisher and the Terror. The Punisher is good for 650 horsepower. The Terror is good for 850 horsepower. Now they are the #1 reliable source for remanufactured transmissions the last 30 years. They will ship to any state in the United States and most countries. They have parts available on their website. You can go to transdepot.net and you can get yourself parts if you want to build something yourself at home or you need some spare parts. They got parts on their website as well. They also do regular remanufactured transmissions. Each transmission in this case comes with a brand new free torque converter and it comes with the oil dipstick for your application. Each one has a 3-year warranty. That is incredible. You guys don't usually see a warranty in a performance application, but these guys give you one. So if you want peace of mind and reliability, you got to check out Trans Depot so that you can put down the power that the engine is making.
Welcome back to more Sam's Garage, presented by NHOU. Sam unveils his latest project, a stunning 1968 Pontiac Catalina. This classic beauty is about to get a major makeover with several high-performance upgrades from Edelbrock. But first things first, Sam starts by replacing the old hacked-up exhaust with a brand new Valvetronic exhaust system.
1968 Catalina, this is my new project car. Has a 400 cubic inch Pontiac engine in it. We're gonna be doing a lot of Edelbrock upgrades on that. This thing is absolutely solid, zero rust from the front to the back. Very good candidate for a nice little driver. The exhaust was totally hacked up. Sounded horrible, there was pipes coming out the side, totally rusted. So the first thing I did was put a Valvetronic exhaust system on it. Now you guys on these old school classics, when you guys are doing a small block or even an LS swap and there's no cats in front of it, no resonators, the Valvetronic exhaust does such a good job of both keeping the car quiet, but when you hit that button, you hear that engine and it becomes a complete animal. So we're gonna start by installing a Valvetronic exhaust, and then we're gonna talk about some aftermarket catback exhaust that they have for your BMWs and your exotics. I wiped off the top of the box, used some double-sided tape, and it sits there secure. The red control box, which is basically an air compressor, is not weatherproof, so you want to put that somewhere inside the cab of the vehicle. And on this car, right above the glove box, there's a spot between the HVAC box and the glove box. It's snuggled in there perfect. Then I went ahead and took out the tachometer because it's way out of place in this thing, but I robbed the ignition and ground to it so I can power up the box. You don't want to power up the box with a constant 12-volt source because then it's going to kill your battery. You always want to make sure to put it on a 12-volt source. It doesn't have to be 12-volt under cranking, just on while it's running. I went ahead and used a snake, ran the vacuum line through to the bottom, and then I used the transmission lines to zip tie the vacuum line to up until I got to the cross members, and I utilized the cross members sheet metal to put holes in so that I can secure the vacuum line but not put any holes through the floor of the vehicle. Then I went ahead and ran the vacuum lines, used the T-fitting, went to both mufflers, making sure that nothing's gonna melt those vacuum lines, also making sure that the clamp that secures the vacuum line isn't too tight to where the air still flows through it. Then I went ahead and wiped off the stainless steel Valvetronic mufflers, and the last thing you want to do is have fingerprints on them and introduce heat to it because then it'll burn those fingerprints into the construction of the muffler and you'll have to look at it forever. These old muscle cars, depending on whether it's the original motor in it or whether you have an LS power plant swap in it, the Valvetronics is a huge difference when it comes to having that nice quiet sound, removing the drone going down the highway, but also giving you all the noise that you need when you open it up. So Valvetronics not only has the universal mufflers that you guys have seen me cover and install in many vehicles, they have complete catback exhaust systems for many popular models out there, going as high as exotics, Lamborghini, Ferrari, all those cars. So what you see here is a complete complete exhaust system. This is going to be for an E90 M3 BMW, 2013, and a little bit older, from 2008 to 2013. The entire exhaust system is stainless steel construction. They've got nice resonators. Everything is high quality. It adapts and connects to the factory exhaust system, just like the factory connections, using a ball and socket connection. Got a nice high quality X pipe right here with mandrel bent connections. It comes with all the hangers and hardware you need for the installation. And just take a look at the muffler right here. Just like you would see on an M3, you're gonna have quad exhaust coming out the back. Well, one side is gonna be quiet and one side is gonna be loud. You got the hangers, all stainless steel construction, and that's gonna make it to where you guys can completely install a complete catback exhaust system and have the best of both worlds, just like you see on that old school Catalina I just installed the system on. So if you guys have Ferraris, exotics, Porsches, Lamborghinis, check out their website. They've got exhaust systems constructed out of titanium as well. So you get that nice look, but you also get that particular sound that you would get from a titanium exhaust.
Welcome back to Sam's Garage, presented by NHOU. Nora from ACC Performance is here to help Sam tackle a critical step in the Camaro project. Together, they'll wrap up the intricate wiring harness installation and troubleshoot a few pesky issues that are preventing the engine from firing. They're ready to take on the challenge and bring this beast to life.
So we're trying to engage the youth, get them more involved into motorsports. And you guys know Nora's been involved in motorsports for a long time. This week, what we're gonna do is go ahead and power up the harness so that we can get Tori's Camaro running. All we gotta do is feed it power and ground like we talked about last week, and then we're gonna crank it up together. Let's take this pipe first, Nora. You see the scar right here?
Yeah.
And the pipe, we need to close that gap right there. So I'm gonna hit it, you tell me when we're close.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So we're gonna grab the second set. And we'll do the same thing we did on that side. We'll look right here, we have a gap. Well, this clamp's job is to close that gap. Then we're gonna get our hardware to where we can tighten them. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this power wire that goes from the power side of the battery down to the starter. And this is gonna be our main power feed. The second thing we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our power wire, and it's the same thing. So we're gonna go under the power wire, and then we're gonna go down to the engine block. We're gonna go upstairs, and we're gonna go hook up those two wires and our engine ground, okay? What we got here is a straight, but if you look, we don't have room for a straight, so we gotta do a 90. So now, we're gonna clear everything up there. Before we hook up our negative wire, because as soon as you hook up the negative wire, that battery is live, which makes this guy live. We don't want that. We're gonna hook up the ground last. So you're gonna put the bolt in to the front side, just like this, and put it in there. So now we have power to the car. We still have to hook up a ground wire from the motor to the chassis, so the engine is grounded. We're gonna go from this rubber to that rubber. That's the ends of the hose. So right there at the one, we're gonna cut it. Now what we're gonna do is you're gonna put these three items together. Those are just push on, but they're a little tough. You got a little bit of resistance. So we're gonna use just a little bit of lube. You're gonna take this guy right over it and push it straight down until it stops. Now we're gonna do this one. This one's a little harder because it's a 90. So we're just gonna put it in like this. Now you have a hose. So you're just gonna go put it on where we made it. So you're gonna hold it stationary and start that end, and then you can go over to this end. Here we have the OBD2 connector and check engine light. That's gonna go through the firewall. Then we have this guy here. This is your pedal. What we got here, your fuse block ignition. Then we also have turnkey power. So what I did was I put them together. So then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a little alligator clip. We're gonna hook it up to this guy right here and the alternator power wire right here, which is hot. You hear all those noises? You can hear the throttle body. It's probably not gonna work because the condition of it. So most likely, because it doesn't work, we'll probably have a check engine light. So then what I have is a mass airflow meter right there. It's not in any pipes or anything, but we just wanna see if this is gonna run, because it's probably not going to. So why don't you do me a favor and go inside and twist the key for me. So this thing would have fired, Nora, but the problem is that the computer is seeing the throttle position sensor code. It doesn't like it, so there may be something in the background going on shutting down fuel. Once it's diagnosed, Tori de Blasi's Camaro is going to be running, and then go back home to New York, and we can say hasta la vista, baby. Now, what do you have to tell everybody out there?
We're going to be giving away a digital helmet made by Miller. So you just need to go to our website, bosshogtorqueconverters.com, and go contact us, and we're going to figure out what we could do to help somebody get into the welding industry as well.
When you can weld, you can create anything, and it becomes a lot more fun to work on cars.
Yes, it can.
Isn't that right, Nora?
Be sure to check out Sam's Garage on these other media platforms. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Sam's Garage. We kick things off by firing up the LT1 engine for the first time. Sam and Doug gave us an exclusive look at the engineering marvel that is the Gentry 427 Cobra. Sam also introduced his latest project, a 1968 Pontiac Catalina. And with a little help from Nora at ACC Performance, we tackled the final wiring issues on the fully built Camaro.